Now, the Chancellor has rejected projections that another housing bubble is on the way and defended the government's flagship schemes that have been criticised for overheating the housing market. But critics say all the signs of a bubble are there, and the figures indicate that even with the economy improving, we could be headed back into another boom and bust cycle. Our economics editor, Faisal Islam, has the story.
Joanne Lascar's packing up after a decade and a half living in the north of Britain's capital city. She's leaving for one reason: ridiculous house prices.
I just think London's really expensive. I think it's unaffordable for anybody who's starting out. I've looked at if I wanted to upgrade or get more of a quality of life, I actually have to look more around the outskirts of London or just outside of London.
And it isn't just Joanne, says the local agent.
Well, certainly prices are getting a lot steamier than they were a few months ago. We're seeing prices going up for certain properties in certain areas, there's no question. And it's the pace of change which is of quite a concern.
Kensington, epicentre of what some are calling a new housing bubble in the nation's capital city. Captains of industry attending today's Institute of Directors convention at the Albert Hall were discarding years of economic underperformance and proclaiming recovery, partly due to a fizzing housing market. If you ever wondered what the collective noun for a captains of industry was, well, the IOD packed lunch makes it look like choir of captains would be appropriate. This a rather sensitive place for the Chancellor to assert and pronounce that those worried about a housing boom are pretending. These are words that may come back to haunt him.
Thank you very much.
For the Chancellor, house prices outside of London growing only modestly, transactions still well below peak, and new Bank of England powers to take away the credit punch bowl mean...
I would say, yes, alert to the risks, but let's not pretend there's a housing boom, and let's go on trying to fix specific problems in our financial system, like the lack of availability of high loan-to-value mortgages, which are not weapons of financial destruction, but actually tools that help many families get on the housing ladder.
House prices in London rose by nearly 10% over the last year. By contrast, the West Midlands is just 2% higher, while areas like the North East and Scotland are still falling. Yet if you look at London in July 2007, well, house prices were rising by nearly 19%, so it's not quite back to the full-scale bubble just yet. But something clearly is bubbling, and at least in the capital there have been calls not to push ahead with George Osborne's wide-scale taxpayer mortgage subsidies, the Help to Buy scheme. Are you doing anything to stop this bubble, or do you even care?
There is not a lot you can do to stop house prices inflating except to build more homes. That is always and everywhere the best solution.
You could stop the government subsidising mortgages.
That is what we are doing. We have a big programme.
House prices are going up by a very rapid clip in London.
Yeah.
What is the point of subsidising mortgages in London?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what the government is doing, and I support it because insofar as it produces more homes. That's the name of the game.
So no bubble yet, says the government, but you'd hardly expect them to say anything different. A lack of house building and mortgage subsidies are squeezing prices yet higher to new national records. And post-crisis, that may no longer be perceived as good news.
Our economics correspondent, editor, Faisal Islam.